whiskey friends, and welcome to the Whiskey Study. So we're going to continue with our little travels here. We're stuck in quarantine still, and we're kind of stuck with whatever collection you went into quarantine with. Hopefully it's holding up for you. We're trying to find new ways to taste our same old whiskey from our collections. Now, I know some of you same old whiskeys are phenomenal bottles I could probably never even get. But most of us just have some nice, decent collections with some good whiskey in it. So we want to find different ways that we can taste it in new, interesting ways. Pairings, I think, is the best way to do it. So I grabbed the bottle today. This is an Old Forester. This is a great bourbon. It's got a little bit of, something a little different than the regular Old Forester. So I thought we'd give this a try. And what I wanted to do today was pair it with some nuts. Nuts, for me, I think all different kinds of nuts are one of the best things to pair with a whiskey. Now, I've already poured myself a glass of the Old Forester. This is a great bourbon. I love this to sip. I did put a little water in there because this is 57%, actually 57.5% alcohol by volume. So it's got a little heat to it. So I always like to add a little water to my whiskeys. Something like this, I might add a little bit more. So I got this dialed in the way I want it. And I've got some different nuts here. Again, most of us, even in lockdown, probably have some nuts somewhere around the house. You got some Planters peanuts. You've got some walnuts or some cashews or whatever. Roasted, salted, jumbo cashews. All different things work great. My favorite thing that I almost always like to have on hand when I drink whiskey are salted smoked almonds. For me, they just work great. They taste good on their own, and they really work with the whiskey. So we're gonna try these with this Old Forester here. Now, with any food pairing and a whiskey, you want to give yourself a chance to taste each by themselves. A lot of times people will take a bite of this and a sip of that and kind of mix them all together, and there's a pleasure in that. But in the beginning, going into it, give yourself an opportunity, give your mind, your palate, your brain a chance to get used to the food pairing by itself. So I'm going to take some of these almonds, go ahead and just pop them in my mouth, chew them up, let the flavors get all around. Kind of pay attention to the flavors of the almonds. Almonds are an interesting nut. They're really sweet for a nut, not bitter like a walnut would be, or even a pecan, the bitterness of a pecan. And of course the saltiness and the smoke on these really bring out a great flavor. So I'm gonna go ahead and chew these up, let the flavors get all around my palate, just like I would a good whiskey, and give myself a moment or two to think about the flavors that I'm getting from these nuts. So the sweetness of the almond, of course the salty smokiness, it mixed together great. Great snack on its own. And I've given myself a few minutes to sort of get used to those flavors. Now, what I love about pairing nuts or almonds with a whiskey is every food pairing has something different that it sort of lends itself to allow you to focus on, or it really takes your focus off of. Chocolate pulls the bitterness out of a whiskey and lets the sweet stand up. A grainy snack like a cookie or a bread or a cracker takes the grain notes away a little bit and lets you taste the barrel and the fermentation notes a little bit better of a whiskey. And a nut, I mean, think about what is a nut. A nut comes from a tree. Nuts, it's a wood, kinda. It comes from a tree, so it's got a lot of the same things in it, the same notes and flavor characteristics that we get from wood, from the barrel. So what I find when I use nuts as a pairing, the almonds take the barrel notes of a whiskey and they sort of suppress it a little bit, they subdue it a little bit, and allow you to taste the other aspects of the whiskey, the grain notes, the mash bill, the fermentation notes, all those things that you sometimes get buried in a really heavily wooded whiskey. Now, bourbons, usually the biggest characteristic of a bourbon are the flavors that come from the barrel. So I think nuts, the almonds are a great thing to pair with the bourbon if you want to taste it in a different way. So the flavor of the almonds, the sweet, salty, smoky flavors all over my mouth. Now I'm going to taste a little bit more of this Old Forester on top of the almonds and see what kind of experience I get with this. Wow, it's like a different whiskey. Where I got an explosion of the quintessential barrel notes before I was pairing it with the nuts. Before, it tasted like the vanilla, the caramel, the sweet oakiness of that barrel. Now I taste it and it's like wonderful grain notes, a little bit of sort of the fruit that I usually think about with a younger whiskey. A whiskey that has a lot more of those fermentation notes in there, a lot of the yeasty notes that you get, that sort of that unripened fruit flavors. I'm being able to pick this up a little bit in this whiskey because basically I pulled that barrel notes away a little bit, settled them down. Really different experience, kind of cool thing. So once you've allowed yourself a chance to kind of taste them by themselves, sort of enjoy them together. It's a really fun experience. It's like I got a whole different bottle of whiskey here. And this is the way, you should enjoy a whiskey. Us whiskey nerds, we like to take the deep dives on whiskey and really get into, how the whiskey tastes by itself and really try to isolate its flavors. But it's fun to just mix it with other things like nuts in this case. It really brings out different things in the whiskeys. It's a great way, a fun way to sort of take a bottle that you're used to in your collection and taste it in a new, maybe exciting way. Or maybe you find it doesn't work for you. In this case, this is a fantastic little pairing. I'm going to enjoy this. I hope you can find something in your collection and maybe in your kitchen or your pantry that you can pair with it. Don't be afraid to experiment with it. Have fun, find new ways, maybe find some new flavors in your same old collection. Cheers.